Hello. Welcome you all for the today's session on GSTR9 and 9C preparation using Tally on Bills. And today's session is focusing on how do we prepare the GSTR9 and 9C and what is the data that is required for GSTR9 and 9C and what is that we are going to generate using the GSTZ and Tally on Bills. I'm sure every one of you are aware the due date for filing the annual return is 31st December for the financial year 21-22, and we have to file GSTR9. If your turnover is crossing 5 crores, you should also file along with 9. You should be filing 9C. People ask this question that is there an extension in the due date? There is definitely no extension in the due date, and as of now, this is the due date within which you have to file the returns. All right. So let's understand basically the broad difference between GSTR9 and GSTR9C. The context in which these returns are prepared is very much important. Like if we know the context, then preparation of the returns are easy and definitely we can appreciate what information we have to put if something is missing. GSTR9, we will call it a statement of fact, which means you are only reporting what is done. While GSTR9C, on the contrary, is what is that you should be doing, what is the right thing that you should be doing. So in 9, you will present the turnover on which the taxes are paid, but while in 9C, you will report the turnover on which tax is payable. That means you need to have a visibility of how much I have paid and how much I have to pay. How much I have paid comes from GSTR3B, how much I have to pay comes from books of accounts, right? The exemptions which you have declared in your R1 versus the exemption which is available as per the notification is what in 9C is. How much tax I have paid could be 3B and NDRC 03, how much tax is I'm liable to pay. At what rate I have paid is specified in 9 and what rate I have to pay is specified in 9C. And the input tax credit that I am availing is there in your GSTR9. The input tax credit that is available in the portal versus the books of accounts, you give a reconciliation in GSTR9C. In 9, the net input tax credit availed in 3B. Whether eligible, ineligible, what you have reported in 4B, you reversed something in availed in 4A, reversed in 4B, net 4C that you availed, you report it in 9. Even though if it is ineligible credit that you have availed, you will report it in 9. But what you have to report it in 9C is what is the net eligible ITC is what you have to report. So let's understand these tables of 9 and 9C and see how we will prepare it. Firstly, very beautifully drafted form. GSTR9 divided into 6 parts. Part 1 is the basic information. Part 2 talks about the turnover and the liability. There are 2 tables, table 4 and table 5. Table 4 talks about the transactions on which there is a tax liability. It's not the turnover, but it is the transactions. That means you also have a liability to pay tax on the inward supplies, which means you also need to extract from your books of accounts how much is the inward supplies on which you have to pay under RCM. We'll see how that can be extracted through Tally on Bills. Then part 3 talks about input tax credit, 3 tables, table 6, 7, and 8. While table 6 talks about the gross input tax credit that you have availed, table 7 talks about the input tax credit that you have reversed. Table 8 is a reconciliation with 2A. How do you do it? How do you report? Again, we will see practical demonstration with one file. Obviously, after the turnover and the liability with the ITC, the left one is tax payable and paid, which is your table 9 dealt in part 4. Ideally, the form should have got completed at this point, but we know in GST, there is no concept of revised return. So if you have made any error and you have corrected in the subsequent period, so those corrections are dealt in part 5. So if you have made any adjustment of the tax payable or ITC availed reversed of the previous financial year, that is financial year 21-22, In the returns of 22-23, maybe GSTR1, 3B, everything that is reported in your part 5. Government wants additional information. The additional information is captured in part 6, table 15 to table 19. While this is a reporting requirement of GSTR9, on the contrary, when it comes to the 9C, you have 5 parts where the expectation of the reporting is what should be the right turnover. So the turnover details are there in part 2. When we say right turnover, the gross turnover as per the books of accounts, vis-a-vis adjustments in the time of supply between the accounting AS9 time of supply versus section 12 and 13 the time of supply of the GST. So in income tax, you would have recognized using ICDS, books of accounts you have recognized using accounting standards. For GST, you will recognize based on the time of supply as per to section 12 and 13. So there could be differences between the turnover that is in the books or the turnover that is liable to tax for GST. Those declarations are done in part 2. Table 5 talks about a reconciliation of your gross turnover. And if there are any differences, it is in table 6. While table 7 is carving out the exemptions outside the gross turnover to assess what will be the taxable turnover. So the table 7 talks about taxable turnover. If it is matching with your R9, well and good. Else you will give the discrepancies or the details of differences in table 8. While this is the turnover, you also have to bifurcate this turnover into rate-wise. The rate-wise information is captured in table 9, where the same amount is captured rate-wise in the table 9. And this information, which is the table 9, that is ideally the gross tax liability that one has to discharge. If it is matching with GSTR9, well and good. Else, an explanation is given in table 10. Lastly, owing to all these tables, if there is a liability that arises, that is captured in table 11. So that's where part 2 and part 3 concludes. Part 4 is on the input tax credit, where table 12 deals with the ITC that is available, whether as per the books of accounts and the portal is matching or not. Table 14 deals with the input tax credits which is so availed. Is it reconciled and eligible or not? So there are two-way reconciliations which is done. Owing to these reconciliations, if there is any liability that is arising, that is captured in table 16. These are the broad tables of 9C. Owing to your table 11 and table 16, if you have a liability, that is the additional liability which is computed and paid in part 5. Now, how do we prepare this information? So if we have to prepare this information, you need to have multiple data points. The data points are, you need to have your GSTR3B, GSTR1, your audited books of accounts, GSTR2B or 2A. This I would call it as a primary source of information. Apart from that, you also need to have a visibility of GSTR3B of the next year, GSTR9 of the previous year, DRC03 that you need to pay, that you have already paid, all this information that you would be needing. And a good software, which we are going to do a demo, so a Tally on Wheels, will assist you in getting all this information on kind of on a few tips, which I would say at a very on a fingertips, you get all this information and you will be able to file the data. So what we will do is, let's go to the demo of the software. Look at how GSTR9 is prepared using Tally on Wheels. So I will take a live tally data. I will also take a live information. We will generate it and we will see how that is getting generated using the Tally on Wheels. All right, so let me just go to the website. The website is Tally on Wheels. You can click on login. It takes you to the login page. Enter your login credentials, username and password, sign in. So once you sign in, you will see the list of companies that you have created. And you can add, update company, you can delete, you can just create an entity, delete an entity, you can do all these activities. Now, how many companies I can add is basically basis your plan that you have subscribed. Sometimes if you are unable to add, maybe you need to increase your subscription. So you will find what is the subscription, assuming you are in bronze plan, you'll be able to work up to 25 companies. A silver plan will allow you to work for 100 companies. When I say company, there's so many entities of the tally data. And a gold plan will allow you to work up to 200 companies. If you want to upgrade, you always, whatever be the plan that you are in, and whenever you want to upgrade, you can find an upgrade button. So you can click on this button and say upgrade. So using this, you can increase the limit, right? So now let's come back to let's now create an entity and see how this works. Now, before I say how this works, let me show you the way we work in a normal course, how you and I work in tally data. Let's see that. Let me open the tally. So if you look at, and by the way, it works even in education mode, so that's not an issue. So if the way we look at the tally, we always create a folders, okay? Like, and we store the data of all the clients in a folder. So likewise, even in the tally on wheels, you create a concept called entity. Let's say I'll create one entity, which is kind of like a group or a folder, Let us say the folder name as GSTR9 Preparation Demo. So I've just created an entity. So under this, we can now create our companies and we can start uploading the data. So GSTR9 Preparation is the demo which I have created. So let us add a company. Now, what do you mean by add a company? I will have to first select the tally data. So let me open the tally data. Here is the tally data. So I opened a tally data. We want to prepare GSTR9 for the financial year 21-22. Let me set it as 21-22 and go back to here. There are various modules. So here we have multiple modules. We have a module. Firstly, we can add the companies. If you are doing stat audit, internal audit, tax audit, so the analytics module will help us. Preparing Schedule 3 financials and the annexures to that would be done by the financial reports. What we are going to see in today's session is preparation of GSTR9. This is what we are going to see today in preparing GSTR9. So for any of this, we definitely need to have preparation of GSTR9. We have to first add a company. So let me add a company. So click on this add button. For a first-time users, you have to install a plugin called Agent. This is an agent which you will have to download it. Once you download this, you will be able to install this, and this will be assisting you in terms of syncing the data from the tally to the tally on wheels. So I've just downloaded the agent. Let me just install it. So Windows will, where it will show something like that. When you say don't run, it goes up, but you should click on this more information and run anyway. So once you do it, which means you have installed something called an agent. The data is prepared, everything on the cloud. So for the data which has to be seamlessly exchanged. So the advantage of this agent is you don't need to filter, upload, extract, Excel, nothing. Everything will be taken care by the agent. Since the installation is happened, let me just refresh this page. Yeah. So now the agent is there. It is saying add your tally company. I click on this add tally company. I click on the add tally company. So let me go here. In the tally, you can see there's something called R9 demo, right? So you can just add it. You hit this button, you have added the company, right? So that simple for adding a company. Now, once we have added the company, you can choose to do multiple things. What are the multiple things that are available which you can do? As I said, let me go back. Yeah. So the multiple things that are available that you can do is you can add the analytics report. You can add the financial reports. So, sorry, you can add the analytics report. You can add the financial reports. You can get various things done. So the purpose of this is automatically it will create information for you for the purpose of any audits. The advantage of having a tool in a normal case, we are going to work anything on a only sample basis. But we want to work on if you want to do a 100% audit. If you want to do a 100% audit, you need to have some tools wherein which you can assist and do a 100% audit. Yeah. So now, since we want to prepare GSTR9, look at here carefully. What I am doing is I want to select a company for which I want to do the GSTR9. So here I am I have added one company. So the name which we have given is R9 Preparation Demo. So this is the company that we have added. I am going to select GSTR9 and 9C Preparation. I'm going to select GSTR9 and 9C Preparation. What are the steps that are involved in preparing GSTR9 and 9C? The step number 1, I have to go to the government portal. I have to log into the government portal. That's the first thing. How do I log in? Log in using a OTP. I have to log in using a OTP. Once I have logged in, I will be able to download the data from the government portal. So why are we downloading the data from government portal? Let's look at that. If you notice, I have mentioned that how we prepare your GSTR9, the information that is required for preparing GSTR9 is you need all this data. You need all this data. We said GSTR3B, GSTR1, audited books of accounts, and the 2A, 2B. You need this data, right? So that is why we will have to get the data from the government portal. So we'll get the data from Tally Data. We also get the data from government portal. So let me click on login using OTP. So let me log in. So I will have to enter the government portal username. And before that, let's say what is that you have to do in the government portal. So in the government portal, you have to enable an API user. You have to enable yourself as an API user. Let's say let me log in. So in your profile, click on view profile. In the view profile, you have something called manage API access. In your view profile, left side, you can see the third one, manage API access. You have to click this manage API access. Let me. You have to click on Manage API Access and enable yourself. You will be able to see this button, Enable API Request, set it as yes. Enable API Request, set it as yes, and confirm. You can give the duration 6 hours, 30 days. So with this way, you are authenticating someone to access your data, right? So how do we access that data? Once I have enabled the thing, I will have to log into the portal using the portal username. Once I give confirm, I will be getting an confirmation request. I will be getting a confirmation request, that is OTP. We will be getting an OTP to the email ID which we have registered for. So let us enter that OTP. So let's see the OTP. So this OTP would be coming to the registered email ID, which means you have to get this enabled in the client login and obtain the OTP. Yeah, so here is the OTP that we have received a minute back at 5:23. So 115. So click on this login with OTP. Now that means you have now enabled. So for 6 hours I have enabled. So it says you are logged in using the OTP. Once you logged in, what I have said is you need all this information, 3B, 1, everything. So I select all for the financial year 21-22, April, May, June to March, GSTR9 all. I say download from the government portal. We need all this information to prepare GSTR9. If you have to manually do download of R1, 3B, it is going to take a long time. But the advantage of tools like this, these tools are actually going to process the information in a much faster way. And we are going to have all the reconciliation information available on kind of fingertips. So like you can see, all the information has been downloaded. And now we will move to the next step, which is purchase data. I want the purchase data to be obtained. So I will say upload purchase register. I'll say upload purchase register. Now from where it will upload? It will read from the books of accounts. It will read from books of accounts. So automatically it is reading the tally data that is there. I'm saying use this company, and I have already synced. So I'll say use the existing ledgers, and I will say import vouchers. It already, since I'm in financial year 21-22, it's selected. I'll click on this import vouchers. So the data from tally, the relevant data from tally is automatically getting synced to tally on wheels. This way, it will also do a vendor-wise reconciliation of between books and the tally data. It will also prepare, basis the sales and other information, what is the turnover that has been declared in the GST portal. So this, as you see, is like we are doing it live, and this is going to do it in a very seamless. So I can download the Excel, and whatever the entries are there, I'll say confirm and send. In fact, it will also show there are some suppliers with error, wrong GST, all those information is there. I'll say confirm and save these entries. So these entries are now imported and the data import is complete. Now it is saying continue preparation. So once it is upload is complete, click on this continue preparation. So you are continuing to prepare GSTR9. Here is the key step. Click this run GSTR9 matcher. This way, it is reading the 1 data, 3B data, and portal 8A data, everything, and it is going to prepare an information. So run GSTR9 matcher. It may take basis the data, say a minute or two. So this has now completed. So let's hit this button called download GSTR9. So we have kind of come to the last important step, which is download GSTR9. So let's go and download GSTR9 and let's see what is available in this, how we can make use of this information, what is available in this, and how we can make use of the information that is available. There's an Excel file. Yeah, this is the Excel file. Enable editing. So this data is now government portal data, books portal data, everything has come. Everything that we need is available here, and we can start preparing GSTR9 and understand what is the data which is there here. Okay. Let me see if there are any questions for the participants. Okay, there's no question. And feel free to put your questions if you have any question. So there are 4 sets of information. There are 4 sets of information that is made available here. The first set of information, if I have to say, you have GST returns data. The second set of information that is there is reconciliations of various information. The third set of data that is available, which is, I'll say, crucial, is GSTR9 related. Then there are other reports which have been prepared. There are 4 sets of data that is available. What is the GST returns data? I have GSTR1, I have 2A, I have 3B, I have 8A. All the data of GST is available. Now, why do I need it? Because I have to report how much of my turnover is exports, how much is SEZ, how much is exports with pay, without pay, how much of the regular supplies is to registered person, unregistered person. There is a whole lot of classification is expected. In table 4, you have lot of sub tables information that is required to prepare. So to prepare that information, we need the data of the GST in detail. Let's see what are all the information that is there one by one. And at the last, I will go to GSTR9, how it is prepared. So to start with, let's see the first one, which is GSTR1 consolidated. This is your first thing. Let us see this. You have a button called view. Click on this button view, it will do the navigation. By the way, there are a lot of sheets in this Excel and it's easy to navigate. Wherever you are, click this home button. For example, books versus 2A, you come here and some report is there. After that, you click home, you will be navigated back to wherever the place you are. You will be navigated back and you will be coming here. So it's very important that you can use this easily to navigate and come back. The first one, GSTR1 consolidated. GSTR1 consolidated. Here, let's understand what is GSTR1 consolidated. There is the 2 sets of information that is available. There is 2 sets of information that is available. There is an information which is downloaded, the summary calculated and which is given by the government portal is here. And summary which is calculated by GSTZen and Tally on Wheels. So this product is jointly developed by Tally on Wheels and GSTZen. Because the government portal, sometimes when you download the summary, you might have carried amendments, adjustments. When you do an invoice-wise verification, you will see the amendments and adjustments that would have been carried on. So that information will not be available when you download in the government portal on a summary month over month. You have to get the value on a YTD basis. You have to get the value on a YTD basis. So what do you mean by value which is on a YTD basis? For example, I have raised an invoice. For example, I have raised an invoice in the month of April for rupees 100. For rupees 100. And let's say this invoice which has been, it is further amended upward by 110. In which month? Let's say in June. Now, so when I download the summary, my April GSTR1 will continue to say 100. If I said did it in June, there is a delta. What if I have done in the next year? So I also have to get a visibility of my revised values. So that is where we also have the revised. So the portal from the Zen, it calculates the amendments that you have. Sorry, the amendments that you have carried, and if you have made downwards credit notes, adjustments, all those amendments. So here you can actually see the portal month-wise month data. When I take, it is showing me a turnover of 7 crore 84. But in the subsequent periods, I have made an amendments and I have reduced, I have downside some numbers. So because of that, it is showing 7 crore 80. So, however, we are bringing you the visibility of all the information. You may ask, from where is this coming? This is an Excel file, everything is linked. Like if I go back home, GSTR1 consolidated, the value which you are seeing here is coming from a raw data. So I have also downloaded a raw data from the government portal. Month over month, all the information data has been downloaded. You can see all the information data has been downloaded. Taxable value, IGST, CGST, each table by table. Table 4, 5, all the tables data which is filed to the government portal is downloaded. And you can see here, this value which is showing, which is calculated by GST Zen is 784, right? So all this information is downloaded, which we call it as raw data. I have also 3B data, all the information is downloaded. Now let's go back to home, understand one. So what is the information this is we have? What is my total registered person supply 4A, 4B? What is my B2C large, B2C small, my amendments, credit notes, debit notes, all this information is available. The adjustments which I have done, the amendments that I have done, all the information is also available. This is very useful. And very importantly is my advances received and advances adjusted. So this information is the first table. Like my GSTR1, I also have 3B data. I also have a 3B data. So I get my 3B month over month in different sections. Forward charge which I paid in 31A, reverse charge which I paid in 31D, all the information section by section is available. Then the third data is invoices by filing period. I might have been a situation where I have reported an invoice in a different month. Like here you can see an example. My turnover for the month of July is 89 lakhs. While I filed only 44 lakhs in July. Yeah, 44 lakhs in July. And in the month of August, we have filed 39 lakhs and 4.9 lakhs in September. That means you have to compute interest for the differential period which you have reported late. Even in October, there was delay. So these, which months you have reported is available in your third report. Then the next report is 1 and 3B is done. The value of the credit that you have taken in 1 is compared with your 2A. How much is the credit that you are eligible to take and versus how much you have taken? How much you are eligible to take and how much you have taken. In fact, some of the people were asking, can we also get a 2B report? In the next sprint of it, we will be getting the 2B data also. Sorry. So what do I have is the credit that I have availed in the portal and the credit that is available in the portal. and the difference thereon, both for IGST, CGST, SGST. For all these, for all the three, we have the data. For all the three, we have the data. Like in the current case, we can see 27.9691 lakhs is the credit that has been availed. While in my 2A, I only have a value of, I have 24 lakhs, which means I have extra credit that is available in the 2A. Why did I not avail? Could be it was not there in 2B, it got updated later. So all those adjustments, amendments will be carried out and it will be taken care. So once I get a glimpse of the difference between 2A and 3B, I look at my summary of GSTR1 by customer. So this is the all the sales I have made, not invoice wise, but it is summarized as customer wise, month wise. So in the month of April, all the invoices that I have made. Let's see how do I understand this. I have something called document type, which gives credit note, debit note, invoice, invoice amendment. IA means invoice amendment. Very importantly, when you do an invoice amendment, the value which you have amended is the value that you should be taking. The value which is amended is what you should be taking. Second, the month in which the invoice belongs to and the month you have reported. Let's say this is an April invoice, you might have reported in June 21. So I get both. And what is my invoice type? Whether it is regular, which means I am liable to pay, or the other person is liable to pay, SCZ, export with pay, all the information, it will be available. If it is regular, it is 4B. If it is export, it is table 6. All those information is available. The customer GSTN and customer name. Currently, we are working on to get the customer name also synced. Then the state, what is the place of supply, whether reverse charge applicable or not. If reverse charge is marked as no, I am responsible to pay the tax. If the reverse charge is marked as yes, the recipient is responsible to pay the taxes. Then what is the value which is there in the books? In this case here, you will see the value in the books will be nil because I have only synced the purchase register. I did not sync the sales register. Then this is your GST amount. What is the data which is available in the portal? In my portal, I have filed for so much amount. That is the value that is reflected here. This is GSTR1 by customer. Then the next report we have is GSTR2A by vendor. So again, my input credit, what I am eligible for is again some then brought it into this table. Most important table I will say is HSNY Summary, table 17. You need to report whatever is the sales which you have made, HSN wise, the unit of measure wise, and the rate of tax wise. These are the important things. It should match with the taxable amount and the total amount between the value that you have reported in table number 4 and the table number 9 and the table 14. So for these values, you need to have HSN wise summary reporting. So let's total this up. Yeah. So you can just put a total and these values will be used into the table 17 of GSTR9. Then the reconciliation data. I have table 8A. So the list of all the line items of 8A is also presented here. People also say 8A and 2A is sometimes not matching. So there is an overview sheet which is given here. So what is the value which is there in GSTR2A? What is the value which is there in GSTR8A? Why it is not matching? If there are there any ineligible ITC in 8A, why it is not matching? All the information is reconciled and presented in this sheet. This is also a useful sheet. So post your reconciliation, you can actually go ahead and file the values between 8C availed in next year, 8D, a credit that is going to lapse, all those data will be taken from here. So we have seen the government portal data, we have seen the reconciliation data. What is important is filing of GSTR9. So there is a GSTR9 which is prepared. So a GSTR9 is prepared by the Tally on Wheels automatically. How did it prepare? There is a base sheet. Like if you see this turnover is coming from a base sheet. What do you know base sheet? There are two informations that is required. So for the turnover, the information is coming from the turnover sheet. For the input tax credit, the information is coming from input tax credit. So there are two sheets which are there, which are like a working sheets. Your GSTR9, if I go back here, your GSTR9 is the same format which you see in the government portal. All the information right now filled with some values. You can correct it. The objective is, let me simplify and give you whatever the values that you need to pay. In fact, table 10 and 11 related values also. It has given some IGST, SGST. You can see some values have also been filled. Let us come the correctness of it in a while, but you can see the values are also being filled. So let us see how the values have come. Let's first go to. So this is coming from a different table, from the sheet called turnover computation. How do I compute the turnover? First, let me see what is the value that I have reported in GSTR1. I reported 7 crore 92 lakhs in my GSTR1. Okay. What did you report in GSTR3B? Even that value is brought here, 7 crore 94. Okay, what is there in your books of account, government portal? So this is from the tally. I have got the tally data. You may ask, how did you get the tally data? Yes, you can see here. There is a trial balance of the tally which has come here. So this is coming from the tally trial balance. So entire trial balance is here, right? So there is a data which has come from the trial balance. So I have computed my GSTR1, 3B and books of accounts. This I might want to segregate between various GST numbers. Since I have one GST number, I will say 7 crore 94, 7 crore 94. Now I'm asking, I want to know, are there any adjustment, unbilled revenue, advances? Let's say I had some opening unbilled revenue which is billed during the year, which might not be there as a revenue. Let's say some 5 lakhs. Okay. And unadjusted advances, I'm adding some 30 lakhs here. And likewise, some you can adjust closing unbilled revenue. This is a revenue, but I don't have the turnover in it, right? So let's say some 60 lakhs. And the closing unadjusted revenue, some 10 lakhs. Right. So we have added various number. So your 794 has become 804. This is the turnover for the purpose of GST. How much is taxable? How much is not taxable? Let's say my other income is all interest income. Let's say my other income is all interest income. I'll say this is not taxable. So automatically you can see from 804, the taxable value has become 800. The taxable value has become 800. Now this we have to segregate into rate wise. In fact, actually, as per the portal, there is a rate wise segregation that's already made 0%, 5%. So from where it is coming? It is coming here. So we have the various rate wise, tax rate wise, there is information which have been filed. I don't know what is 0. Yeah, there are some items have been selected as 0. Errors could happen. Okay. Technically, this could have been say 5%. Okay. Let's say this I will mark it as 5%. And by the way, this is Excel. You can make correction, any correction you want. Okay, let's go back here. So you got, so I have paid under so much category, this much. And let's say my other value, which is Even this, let's say I have some 28%. Okay, let us put hypothetically. So this I will put it as this much turnover. I'm not finding anywhere. I have not shown it properly. It could be anything. Yeah, it could be any of that. Now this is further segregated between IGST, CGST, SGST. It is further segregated. Some segregation has been done. Okay. Now, end of the thing, I have to pay a tax of, by the way, you can make all the corrections. So we are trying to derive what I have to pay the taxes. So it's now saying that you have to pay a tax of 22 lakhs IGST, 9 lakhs 10 CGST, 9 lakhs 10 SGST. Now, if you see here, what I have paid from the 3B, out of 2267, I paid 2245. 910, I have paid 925. So it is saying that so much extra and short has been paid. That means you have paid in financial year 22-23 GSTR 3B. So this is out of 2267, you paid only 2225. Maybe next year 22,304 have you paid. So that is why I said you need to have the visibility of next year information also, or the excess paid which you might have adjusted in the next year. So you can see here it is saying that this is the value I have reported to table 10 or table 11. So these all values have automatically linked back to your GSTR9 preparation. So these values have come to the GSTR9 preparation automatically. Since I have reported exempted 343, you can go back. You can just press Control open bracket. You can see the exempted. From where did this come? This is the value that I have reported here. You can see I have reported as exempted this much. I can choose to report exempt as, let's say, 250. So I have reported only 2,50,000, right? So automatically you can see in your GSTR9, the working file, this has automatically changed to 2,50,000, which means chronologically all the line items have been linked for the easy preparation. Next comes input tax credit. Input tax credit is derived from your ITC sheet. You, of course, your 6A, it comes from the government portal, you cannot do anything. But 6B, you have the data. So what you have availed is, this is what you have availed. In your all other ITC, this is what you have availed. So it is coming here. Now, I don't know what is capital goods input and input services. So that is where we have given an additional information. So now let me take you to the additional reports. This is the tally purchase register which we have imported. I can go to here. So this is the purchase register that you have imported. I can just put a simple pivot of it. Let's say let me get my supplier name, my expense category, and my ITC. Yeah. So you can see automatically you have the total ITC that is here. And if there are any capital goods, you will also see in the tally purchases whether the ledger type is capital goods or expenditure. So let me just put the ledger type. There is only everything is this. Let me just, let's say here, I'm just hypothetically giving. In this case, we don't have the capital goods. So you can see, okay, there is some capital goods and some inputs. Now you might want to know, how do I segregate between input services, right? So even that, there is an easy method which I always tell. You know your vendors, like you know your vendors. For example, if I have to take, I'm just taking here. So vendor, let's see what are my vendors. So these are my vendors that are there. Okay. I can also always say by vendor. So I can say this is my input services. Okay. You can just say something. And let's say these are my capital goods. It's very easy. You can just make, okay, this is vendor name and ITC classification. So since this is Excel, you can just do this. Let me just, let's say ITC classified. And I'm saying ITC classification. So you can just apply a simple VLOOKUP in your ITC classification. Right. So in your pivot, tally purchase pivot, and let me get the ITC classification. So you have, like I'm just giving you your data, you will exactly know. So you know from this data, 795 is capital goods, 1,18,000 is input services, right? I'm just taking this data and let's travel back to my GSTR9 and in table 6. Yeah, so my capital goods is 785, 7875. My input services is 1,18,716. You got to be only care you have to take is you have to segregate between IGST, CGST, SGST. You have to segregate between IGST, CGST, SGST. Even that you can actually do it. Let me just show you how. Let's go back to my, instead of the total ITC, I don't need the expenditure. I don't need the supplier name. I need my IGST, CGST, SGST. Yeah. So you can see in this case, okay, luckily we did not had CGST, SGST in the items which you selected, but you have IGST, CGST, SGST. This data, you can actually use it back and you can go back to GSTR9 and in the table 6, you can just copy paste and you can link it. So this way with your table 6 is complete. Table 7 reversal, it has automatically linked. If it is there anything in the portal, if you have done, these values will come. So the other reversal is marked to this. And if you want to allocate between any of the reversal, you can just do a data entry here. What is the net ITC availed is coming here. If there is any difference, it is showing up. Okay, look, there is a difference. Why is this difference coming in? Here, I have purchased this, but I did not do this segregation. So in this example, I did not have any input services. Let me mark this as my total value. Let me mark this as my total value. So we can get the value down here. Ideally, you got to check the difference. These is like if there are any differences, you need to see why there are differences. You need to be ensured before you file the return. Why there are differences, you need to ensure this. Yeah. Now comes my table 8. The values which are there in table 8 are coming here, 8B, 8C, everything. So it could be a situation where you have taken ITC higher than what is there in the portal. It could be a credit that is missing, or this is a credit pertaining to the last year. This is a credit pertaining to the last year. Let me just come back here. So you can see here, the credit which is of the last year, 8C, 2021 credit is something which is not availed, is what we are bringing here. So you will bring it as a negative item for this current year. You will bring this as a negative item in this current year. So there are values that have been traced and that has been brought here. Finally, the tax payable and paid, you cannot make adjustments. Table 10, 11, 12, this is important. I have short paid IGST, which is adjusted to next year. I have excess paid, which is brought here, and the differential tax. So with this, I have all the information that is required for filing GSTR9. So I've computed and I have brought it here. I don't have a button here to say, okay, go ahead and file your GSTR9. We are not a written filing software. We are not a written filing software. We are assisting to file the returns. We are assisting to file the returns, like what I have shown is collecting the data from 3B, GSTR1 books and all this, and preparing what should be your likely GSTR9. This is what we are trying to assist in preparing what is the likely GSTR9. I'm sure now you got a fair idea of how GSTR9 is prepared using Tally on Wheels, what are the various information that gets generated, and how you can use them, you can correct that, and you can file the GSTR9. If you have any queries to anyone at this point, you can put your queries in the chat. Otherwise, you can always reach to me at this email ID. If you have any technical queries, you can always reach to me. Harsha, my colleague, would be sharing with you the session recording so that you can know exactly how to download the file, how to make use of the file, and how to prepare GSTR9 effectively. With this, we have come to end of the session. Superb, right? Bang on time. Any questions to anyone? Okay, that's good. Harsha, anything you want to say before we conclude?
No, thanks a lot everyone for joining in. I'll be sharing the video of the session very soon. Thanks a lot.